All right, this week is going to be entirely dedicated to ways to manage stress. And when we are going over all of these things, we have it broken down into 3 parts for you that you have until Friday to get done. So it doesn't matter when you do them as long as all of them are due or done by Friday. All right, so we're going to get rolling here. I'm going to get my face out of the way and we are going to fly through this. So, first things first, I am going to read a couple quotes to you, and I want you to try to relate these to your life and to stress in particular. So, Lou Holtz, famous football coach, you can look him up if you want to. He says, it's not the load that breaks you down, it's the way you carry it. So, it's how you choose to respond to a situation. And that is going to be one of the big lessons that we have today. The second part to this is you can't always control what goes on outside, but you can always control what goes on inside. And that is going to be another bit of big learning that we take away from today is what we have control over and what we don't have control over. So first I'm going to go over some keywords that I need you to understand before we get rolling into this. But the first one you need to understand is distress. This is negative stress. This causes anxiety, whether it's short or long term, very unpleasant feeling, and it actually decreases your performance. So those of you who are used to like getting into competition or think of it taking a test, okay, when we are distressed going into a situation or into a test or into a competition, we're actually going to perform poor. We are not going to work to the best of our ability. And this will eventually lead to mental and physical problems. On the flip side of it, we have eustress. This is positive stress. This is motivating. It's very short term and short burst. This feels exciting and it actually improves our performance. So, again, thinking of competition or thinking of a test, okay, when we are in eustress or we look at that stress as a positive, okay, it actually improves our performance. Then we have our stress response. This is exactly what I was just explaining. It's how you respond to a stressor. How do you react? What is that thing that you have in your do corner of your frame? And then we have stressors. So this is the actual perceived threat to a person. So this might be that competition or it might be that test we're just talking about. So what you're going to do today is we are going to have you do this in 3 different steps. First of all, I want you to identify. Think about a stress that's in your life, whether it's something that's happening right now, maybe it happened in the past and it's still causing you distress, or maybe it's about to happen in the future and causing you some anxiety. But identify that. I'll give you 3 seconds. All right. Now what I want you to do is reflect on your response. Go over to that feel frame. How do you feel about it? What might you think or what might you like actually have emotions about? And finally, what did you do? What is your response? Okay, what would you do as a result of that stress? Okay, now I want you to use these 3 things to move into the rest of our lecture today. So the first thing we're going to talk about is control. All right. So some of the things I want you to think about are what are some examples of situations that you have had control over that caused you stress? Okay, so maybe if you look at the guy in the top right, he is falling asleep over his textbooks. Maybe your distance learning is not going quite as you wanted it to, and you're falling asleep at 3 in the morning because you didn't start till 10 p.m. With your homework. Okay, you have control over that because what you can have control over is the way you change your study habits. Okay. So what are some situations that you have no control over that caused you stress? Well, maybe you had practice in Minneapolis and you guys were already running late and then you hit stopped traffic on 35W. Okay. Once you're in that traffic, you're in it. You have zero control over it. Okay. So what do you have control over in that situation? And is there a difference in how you handle the stress of these 2 types of situations? Some of you, if you have no control over a situation, it really freaks you out. Because when you have some control over a situation, you may be able to take action or change the circumstance to help reduce the stress. You're not able to change situations you have no control over. However, like the traffic, you might be able to adjust your attitude. You can shift how you feel or alter the way you think about the situation to help manage that stress. So you're going to start learning more about ways to manage stress today. And some of the techniques that I'm going to help you with is going to help you deal with stress situations that you have no control over, as well as those that you do. And although you may not always have control over the changes you experience in life, you always have control over how you choose to respond to these changes. So again, control versus no control. Okay? If you have some control, you can take action or change the circumstance. If you have no control, there's 3 different things you can do because you can always control your attitude, you can shift how you feel, or you can alter the way you frame a situation. So now to that word resilient. Okay, it depends on how resilient you are to a stress is how you cope with it. So if you are resilient, you take a stressor and it rolls off your back and you can deal with it in a great way. If you are not very resilient, you are going to really struggle dealing with that situation. And again, not everyone reacts to stressful situations the same way, but there's two specific things that affect your reactions to stress. Number one, is how you view the situation or the event. Basically, think of it as the C on the frame. And number two, your past experience and your skills in handling stress. So, what I'm going to do for you today and tomorrow and the next day is give you some tools and skills in handling stress. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a list of some different stressors that you might be experiencing or have experienced in the past. So, what you're going to do is that you're going to think of both a positive and a negative or less positive way that you might respond to each of these stressors. A positive response is one that would be effective in your best interest, and a negative response is one that could make the stress worse or cause more problems for the person. So the list of 10 I have here on the right is I have too much homework. My friends are talking bad about me. I'm not ready for my next test. We're late to practice and there's traffic. I lost my wallet. My pet died. My mom asked me to do something I don't know how to do. My boyfriend or girlfriend broke up with me. I'm not getting along with anyone in my family, and I'm not allowed to hang out with friends. So the next thing I'm going to do is to give you some negative or unhealthy ways that you might respond to these stressful situations or events. You might become angry or upset. You might blame. You might act out with violence. You could ignore the problem or avoid the situation. You might pretend that it's not even happening. Many of us lie to avoid responsibility. We could use tobacco, alcohol, or other drugs. Maybe we start overeating or undereating. Sometimes we just zone out in front of our TV or our phone or other device. Sometimes we sleep too much. Either we sleep in the morning or we just nap. And there's other times where we just stay too busy to leave time to feel emotions or face our problems. On the flip side, here are some positive or healthier ways that you might respond to these stressful situations. We might have to get more information about the situation. We might talk about the situation with a friend or an adult. We might do something relaxed, such as taking a bath or spending time in nature. We might write about our feelings in a journal. Talk to other people involved in the situation to work things out. We might actually do some physical activity like walk, run, or swim. Might take a break until we calm down. Might figure out what's within your control and what's not. View the situation as a chance to learn something. Plan ahead to help avoid this kind of stress in the future, or decide on one step you can take to handle the situation and act on it. The first thing that we are going to work on is you're going to think of a particular stressor to which it was hard to think of a positive response. And were you able to think of a positive response to this stressor? So sometimes people react to stress by becoming angry or upset or by blaming someone else in this situation. Or they may feel so overwhelmed that they avoid the stressful situation, pretending it's not even happening, or even try to escape through alcohol or other drugs. These are negative or unhealthy ways to deal with stress, and that can wind up adding to the pressure the person is feeling and cause more problems in the future. So sometimes stress might push or motivate people to take action or to handle the situation that's causing the stress or something over which they had control over. Sometimes people are able to keep a positive outlook and think of good things that could come from the situation. Getting more information, asking for help, doing something to relax, taking a break until you feel calmer, or approaching the problem one step at a time are all positive ways to respond to stress. So the first worksheet you're going to work on is called stressors and responses. You're going to give an example of how you might respond positively and negatively to each of those stressors. Now we're going to talk about positive ways to respond to stress. And these include making healthy choices. So basically make sure that you're doing something healthy for your body and your mind when you're feeling stressed. Keep your body healthy by eating nutritious foods, get enough physical activity, and avoid alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs. Also make sure you get support. Talking with a friend or a trusted adult can ease troubled feelings and help you figure out solutions. We need positive social interactions now more than we ever have because we don't have much of a choice. Number three is understand your feelings. Sometimes writing or drawing or another creative way of expressing what you feel can often help you work through difficult feelings. Sometimes keeping a journal, writing a poem or a song, or painting a picture or making a collage is another idea that you could try. Number 4 is finding ways to relax. You've learned about the effects of stress on the body, and you're going to learn even more about it tomorrow. And doing things to slow down your heart rate and breathing and relax tense muscles can actually help relieve the physical stress response. Number 5, keep a sense of humor. A sense of humor gives you the ability to laugh at a situation rather than at yourself or someone else. Sometimes tension can be eased when you can think of it or say something lighthearted in a difficult situation. But make sure you understand the circumstance because some humor may not be appropriate in all stressful situations. Number 6, take action when you can. If the stressful situation is one you have some control over, taking action, even if it's just a small step, can help you feel more empowered and capable. And make sure to remember that you always have control over your own choices, even if you can't control the source of the stress. Number 7, resolve or eliminate the source of stress. If you can figure out where the stress is coming from or what's causing it, you might be able to take steps to resolve a situation or change how you respond to it. Identify the stressors in your life and see which ones you can avoid or deal with before they become too stressful. And then finally, identify how to prevent stress in the future. This might mean learning how to manage your time, thinking ahead with what needs to be accomplished, or complete a project or task to help keep you focused and organized. So worksheet number 2, okay, what you're going to do is you're going to think of when you might have used some of these helpful ways to deal with stress. And you're going to circle at least 2 coping strategies that you've used before and give an example of when you've used each one, explain what you did, and rate how well it worked for you in that situation. If you haven't used any of these strategies, choose at least 2 and describe when you might use each strategy in the future, what you could do, and how well you think it would work. So please make sure that you submit both of those worksheets to Schoology. So we have worksheet 1, which is stressors and responses, and worksheet 2, which is how do I cope with stress. And again, a big reminder is that we have 3 parts to our ways to manage stress, and you have until Friday to get all 3 parts done. All right. So get to doing this, and we shall come back to part 2 later.